You know, the Democrats, the Republicans, like they're gonna who you get. It's your choice of Democrat or Republican denies you health care. It's your choice of Democrat or Republican who destroys the climate and makes an unlivable planet. It's, you know, your choice of Democrat or Republican to deny you labor rights, to enforce mass incarceration, endless war, surveillance, state apparatus. You know, like what does it matter? You know, it's just degrees of horrible is what we're talking about. And the fact that we have the Democrats and Republicans over time is actually is leading the country further and further and further to the right over time. That is how you have this march towards enormous inequality and austerity policies, and you have exploding student debt and 1 out of every 10 Americans that's facing eviction in the middle of a pandemic. And you have tens of millions of people, 15 million people who are losing their health insurance. And you have, you know, and this is after Obama's signature achievement was passing Romney Care. So, you know, this is actually facilitating the move to the right. And in 2024, if you understand, as we do here at the Movement for a People's Party, that Trump was a reaction to Obama's corporatism, well, guess what? Biden is more corporate than Obama. And people are more desperate and they are more impoverished than they were during Obama's term. And so the counter reaction to Biden is going to be fascism. And you saw that on display yesterday. And you saw that on display with Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and the other senators and members of Congress who even after that kind of invasion of the Capitol still voted to contest the election results and the affirmation of Biden. They are lining themselves up as the inheritors of the Republican Party. And the Democrats and the Republicans are trying to basically expunge Trump from the party and remove him entirely. But guess what? That may lead Trump to form something like a third party. There's talk about that accelerating in the right. And so either way that you cut it in 2022, now that the Democrats have full control and they have no one else to blame, when they enforce neoliberalism on people for 2 years, they're going to get destroyed in 2022. And then they're going to get destroyed in 2024. And we're going to get a much more competent authoritarian than Donald Trump. And so the only way to avoid that is to have a People's Party offering a different a legitimate alternative to the status quo. Because the Democrats represent the status quo. They represent nothing will fundamentally change, in Biden's own words. And the Republican Party has now become the party of change as a result of that. They've become the party of authoritarian change and populism. And people are so fed up of the status quo that when you give them a choice between the status quo, the burning building that the Democrats have trapped them in, and then any form of change whatsoever, including this kind of authoritarian populism that Trump represents, they will take that. And we saw that in 2016. That's exactly what played out in 2016. And that's exactly what's going to play out again in 2024, unless we can open up another escape hatch to that burning building and tell people, guess what? You don't have to run to something worse to get out of this burning building that the Democrats have trapped you in. You can come to something positive. You can come to something that's going to guarantee health care and a livable climate and freedom from mass incarceration and freedom from surveillance and the wars, all of these different things, an end to this medieval level inequality. You can come in that direction instead. A basic income, all these different things that have super majority support among the American people. But if the choice in 2024 is between the status quo and authoritarian populism, you'd better believe people are going to pick authoritarian populism. They're going to pick a worse Trump, a more capable Trump. And the only thing standing between that and where we are today is the People's Party and a People's Party candidate. That's the importance of work we're doing here.